Hello, everyone. I'm so happy to see you all today, and I've got a nice story to share with you, which I think you're going to enjoy. As you listen, I want you to not only enjoy the story, but also focus on how we use simple English to talk about something more complex. This story is about a father and his son, and there's a really important lesson in it for all of us, especially when it comes to learning and getting better at what we do. You'll see how this lesson can help you not just in life, but also as you are learning English. So, let's get started, shall we? A long, long time ago, in a quiet town, there was a father and son who worked together. The father's name was Thomas, and he was a sculptor. Do you know what a sculptor is? A sculptor is someone who carves stone or wood into shapes. These shapes can be statues or other art pieces. Thomas was famous in his town because he made beautiful statues. Every time Thomas finished carving something, people from around the town would come to see it. They would stand close, look at the details, and admire how perfect the statues were. Some people even wanted to buy his work and would pay a lot of money for it. But for Thomas, it was never about the money. It was always about making the best statue he could. He loved his work, but he was very strict about how it should be done. Now let's talk about the son, Jacob. Jacob was young, maybe your age. He loved seeing his father work with his hands, especially the way his father carefully cut the stone with his tools. The sound of the tool hitting the stone, the fine dust that came from it, and the way the stone would slowly change shape, they were all fascinating to the boy. Every day Jacob would ask, "Father, can I help you?" At first Thomas would say, "No, not yet, my son. You are young. It's not easy work." But one day, when Jacob became a little older, his father handed him the tools. "Here, son, let's see what you can do," Thomas said with a smile on his face. Jacob was excited. He wanted to show his father that he could be as good a sculptor as him, maybe even better. He grabbed the tools and began to work. He decided to carve a small bird into stone. Jacob had seen his father do this kind of work many times, so he thought it would be easy. But as he started, he realized how hard it was. His hands hurt. The stone didn't always break the way he thought it would, and he kept making mistakes. Still, after hours of hard work, he managed to finish his first bird. Jacob was so proud of his work. It wasn't as perfect as his father's, but for his first try, it wasn't bad either. He hurried to show it to his father. "Look, father, I made a bird just like you. What do you think of it?" But Thomas, instead of smiling and telling Jacob how good it was, took the bird in his hands, looked at every side of it, and said, "It's missing something. Look here. The wings are uneven, and you carved the feet too fast. They don't look strong enough. You must learn to correct these mistakes." When Jacob heard this, he felt a little sad. He had worked so hard, but his father only saw the bad parts. Even though Jacob was upset, he didn't give up. The next day, he took the tools again and started working on a new piece. "This time I will make sure every part is perfect," he thought. Jacob worked slowly, focusing hard on each part of the stone. He kept thinking about his father's words, trying to make sure he didn't make the same mistakes. After days of effort, he made another statue. This time, it was a dog. When he showed it to his father, Thomas again looked at every little part of it and said, "It's better, but still, the ears don't look smooth, and the legs look a bit too thin." This kept happening again and again. Jacob got better with time, but his father never seemed happy with his work. Each time, Thomas would find something wrong with it. "Why can't you ever tell me it's good enough?" Jacob once asked. Thomas looked at him, smiled, and said, Because it's not about being good enough. It's about getting better with each piece you make. If I tell you it's perfect too soon, you will stop trying to improve. And you have so much more to learn. The day you think you are great at sculpting is the day you stop learning. Over time, Jacob's work became very popular. Some people even preferred his sculptures to his father's. They said Jacob had a special touch, a new style that felt different. One day, a man came to their town and bought one of Jacob's statues for a lot of money, more than anyone had ever paid his father. People started talking about Jacob, calling him an artist and saying how talented he was. This made Jacob really happy, but still, whenever he showed his work to his father, the old man would pick out some issue, some small thing to fix. Jacob couldn't take it anymore. "Father, I don't understand. Everyone likes my work. Some even say it's better than yours. But you never tell me it's good." His father put down the tools he was working with and looked at him. "Jacob," he said in a calm voice, "I know your work is good. It has become even better than mine. But it's not my job to congratulate you. It's my job to help you become the very best you can be. If you think you are already great, you'll stop trying, and you'll never know how much better you could be." At that moment, Jacob realized what his father was teaching him all along. He understood that the compliments from others were nice, but his father's constant corrections were what truly made him improve. Instead of being upset, Jacob was grateful. And from then on, he approached each new piece of work with the idea that there was always something to improve, always a way to get better. Now let's think about what this story teaches us. Sometimes we want to hear that we are great at what we do, especially when we work hard on something. It's only natural. We want people to notice our effort and say, "Wow, you're doing an amazing job." But just like Jacob's father, true growth happens when we listen to those who don't only praise us, but also help us see where we can get better. This can be applied to anything, but let's talk about learning English. When you start learning English, you might feel happy when you can say small sentences, or when people say, "Your English is good." And that is nice to hear, I know. But if you stop there, thinking that you are already great at English, you might not push yourself to keep learning. Just like Jacob, the more mistakes you correct, the better you will become. And you know what? That's how I've seen a lot of my students improve over time. I remember one of my students, Abigail. She was so eager to learn English when she started. At the beginning, like everyone else, she made small mistakes. But she wasn't afraid of trying. One time during class, she stood up to tell everyone a story in English. I could see that other students were a bit shy and didn't really want to speak. But Abigail tried. She spoke slowly, and yes, she made some mistakes here and there, but I didn't say, "That was great." Instead, I pointed out areas where she could improve, just like Thomas did with Jacob. At first, Abigail was a bit disappointed, but she didn't stop. The next time we had a class, Abigail came back with more confidence and more improvement. She kept practicing, and each time she spoke, I noticed fewer mistakes. Today, she speaks English so well. But the most important part is that she never stopped trying to get better. Even now, when I hear her speak, she still asks me, "What can I improve?" The lesson here is that no matter how good you get, there is always room for improvement. And now, as you continue to learn English, I want you all to think just like Jacob. Don't stop trying to get better. It's not just about speaking perfectly, but about pushing yourself to improve every day. If people correct you, don't feel upset. That's how you learn. Remember what Jacob's father told him. You'll stop growing the moment you think you're already the best. Keep learning, keep striving, and keep improving. That's the way forward. Thank you for being with me today on this channel, English Learning for Success. I hope this story helps you remember that learning doesn't stop, and I'm here with all of you as you work to become better, not just at English, but at everything you do. Now, let's talk more about why you should always keep improving. It's not about being perfect in everything you do, but it's about becoming the best version of yourself, step by step. Think of it like climbing a mountain. When you first start, the ground is flat and easy to walk on. But as you keep climbing, the road gets harder. Rocks are in the way, and sometimes you feel like stopping. You might look down and see how far you have come, and it feels good for a moment. But if you decide to stop right there, you'll miss reaching the top of the mountain. The goal isn't to stop on the way. The real reward is when you reach the best part, at the top, after all your hard work. We can look at Jacob and his father again. Jacob became famous for his sculptures, and everyone loved his work. But remember how his father never told him, "This is perfect. Stop here. You are the best now." His father saw something important. If you believe you are the best, you might stop trying. When you stop trying, you stop growing. And when you stop growing, someone else will pass you very quickly. This idea applies to learning English too. Each day you should aim to learn something new, even if it feels small, like learning a couple of new words or understanding how to form a new sentence. Why should we always keep improving? Well, like in Jacob's story, being satisfied too early can keep us from reaching our full potential. Jacob's father knew that praise in the beginning would make Jacob feel comfortable but not improve as much as he could. We grow by facing challenges and having someone remind us that we still have things to improve. And those tough comments, instead of hurting us, should make us stronger. It's not like his father didn't love him. No, his father cared so much that he wanted the very best for him. That kind of attention and care is what really helps people improve. In life, or even in English, there is always something more to learn. This reminds me of a quote I once read. "The expert in anything was once a beginner." Think about it. Even the most skilled people in the world, whether they are artists, writers, or scientists, started from zero. They didn't just wake up one day and know everything. They learned in small steps, like you, and every mistake they made taught them something important. So, when you make a mistake while learning English, don't worry. That's part of the improvement process. I'll tell you about another student of mine, someone you should know about. His name was Noah, and he struggled a lot when he first started learning English. Many of his classmates were faster at learning new words, and Noah would always feel shy when he had to speak. I noticed this and told him quietly, "Noah, your mistakes are not something to feel bad about. In fact, your mistakes are what will help you learn faster. Look at every mistake as an improvement tool." I still remember his first few months in class. He was very afraid to participate, but slowly, after working on improving and not rushing through his lessons, his confidence grew. Noah started reading shorter stories out loud in class, and yes, sometimes he would get stuck on words or forget a phrase. There are always difficult moments along the way. But, instead of feeling embarrassed, he took those moments and turned them into lessons. Noah would go back and practice the words he had trouble with. He made lists of those tough words and reviewed them every day until they became easier to say. I could see how he went from feeling shy to raising his hand more often, and even trying to crack small jokes in English by the end of our class. It was so motivating for me as a teacher to see that growth. And it all happened because Noah worked on small improvements every single day. Now he speaks English as if it's his second nature, and surprisingly, he still finds ways to get better, always asking me for a new challenge or topic to learn about. Think about that for yourself. How every little bit you improve today adds up over time. Just like sculpting requires patience and focus on small details, learning English needs daily attention. If today you can't say a word correctly, tomorrow might be better. The thing about improvement is that it builds on itself. When you improve a little today, it prepares you to improve even more tomorrow. Maybe you'll learn a new way to say something or find that you're able to understand a conversation better. But don't settle. Just take another step forward. We can also learn from people who don't give up. I'm sure you've heard about athletes who train for years, sometimes more than 10 years, just to compete in a race. They don't win the race the first time they run. No one says, "You're amazing," after the first try. Instead, every time they practice, they make small improvements. Maybe they run a bit faster, or their muscles get stronger. It's the tiny improvements that add up to big success. Your journey with English is exactly like that. Each new word, each new sentence you say, is taking you closer to fluency. Sometimes, we want to get better quickly, and that's normal. We live in a world where everything around us is fast. But let me remind you, it's the slow improvements, the ones you make every day by working bit by bit, that give the real results. Slow doesn't mean you're not progressing. It means you're building something strong, and it will last. If everything you learned came too quickly, it would also leave your memory quickly. When you take time to learn deeply, it sticks with you longer. Don't be afraid of slow progress. It's actually the best type of progress. In my experience, students who are always ready to learn more and improve, even when they've reached a good level, end up not only remembering what they've learned, but also using it more skillfully. So, if you're asking yourself whether you're improving enough, just remember that every time you practice or pay attention to a lesson, that is improvement. Many people think they just need to reach a certain level and then stop improving. But the truth is, even native speakers of English still learn new words or new ways of saying things all the time. They don't stop improving just because they've spoken the language their whole life. They read, they write, they experiment with language in interesting ways. So why should you be any different? Your goal is fluency, a level where you can express yourself freely without hesitation. But even then, there will always be new things to learn, and that's exciting. It means you'll keep discovering more about the language and yourself. The greatest writers and thinkers in English didn't get there by saying, "Okay, I know enough now, I can stop improving." No, they kept pushing themselves. Take William Shakespeare, for example. He's widely seen as one of the best writers in the English language, but even he wrote so many different kinds of plays and poems, experimenting with language until he found his own powerful style. You may not all want to be writers, but you should have the same dedication to growing your skills and knowledge, just as Shakespeare did with his pen. So, just like Jacob kept listening to his father and didn't let himself get comfortable with what others said, I want you to do the same in your journey to learn English. Always be looking for ways to improve, for ways to sharpen the edges like a sculptor working on his next masterpiece. Don't waste too much time being happy with where you are. Get excited about where you could be tomorrow. If you keep thinking about improvement this way, you will be amazed by how much you'll grow. Watch yourself find new ways to learn, and you'll enjoy the process more than the result. Keep improving, friends, and I'm sure you'll reach places you never thought possible. Stay motivated, and just like we say here on English Learning for Success, the more you improve, the more you'll find success waiting for you. Trust the progress. I want to talk to you more about something really important as you're learning English, or doing anything in life, and that's the idea of trusting the progress. I know that sometimes it can feel like you're not learning fast enough or that it's taking too long to get better at anything new. But let me tell you a story and then talk about why you should always trust where the process is leading you. This will help you not only with your English skills, but in many parts of your life. Learning something takes time, and progress often grows slowly, but it does grow. I remember a student of mine named Olivia. Olivia was learning English, just like many of you, and she came to me very excited at first. You know that feeling of excitement when we start something new? It feels fun, and we have a lot of energy for it. Olivia felt that exact way when she began learning English. In the beginning, every small success made her happy. She could learn a new word and say, "Wow, I know this word now." She practiced making sentences, and she even worked on her pronunciation by repeating words every night in front of the mirror. Every week, she felt like she was improving quickly. But then, after some months, something changed. Olivia came to me feeling frustrated. She said, "Teacher, I'm not sure if I'm even improving. I feel like I'm stuck. I'm doing everything right, but I don't see any changes." First of all, this feeling is common. You feel like you've hit a wall where the success isn't coming as fast as it used to. When you begin, progress feels exciting because you're new to the language. But over time, the improvement feels harder to see. This is when many people start wondering, is this worth it? Am I really getting better? These doubts can make people stop what they're doing. But guess what? This is exactly when you need to trust the progress. Because just like Olivia, your improvement is happening, even if you don't feel it at the moment. In fact, growth often works like a tree. Let me explain. At first, when you plant a tree, nothing happens above the ground right away. It seems like the small seed you planted hasn't grown at all. But underground, where you cannot see, the tree is reaching out, forming roots, building a strong foundation. You can't see the changes for some time, but one day you suddenly notice that the tree has begun to sprout. Trust that the same thing is happening with you. Just because you don't see immediate improvement doesn't mean you aren't progressing. You are building a foundation deep within. I told Olivia something similar. "You are not stuck," I said to her. "You are growing in ways you don't yet realize. You've been showing up every day to practice, and that is progress." You see, showing up and doing the work is sometimes the hardest part, especially when the results aren't clear right away. But think about how you feel after learning for a few months compared to when you first started. If you look back, you'll notice you understand more than you did on day one. Maybe you can follow a conversation better, or you can write longer sentences. These small victories that seem invisible each day are actually adding up. So, Olivia started thinking about the little things. She could greet people faster, write a bit more, and her listening skills had improved, though she hadn't noticed at first because she was so focused on feeling fluent. But one day, something amazing happened. We were having an English conversation practice in class, and it was Olivia's turn to speak. Suddenly, without planning it, she spoke without hesitation. Her sentences were clear, and her ideas flowed more naturally. She didn't stop to think about grammar. She didn't get stuck on which word to use. It just came out. Afterward, she looked at me, shocked, and said, "Did I just say all of that?" We both laughed, and I told her, "Yes, Olivia, that's your progress. You believed you weren't improving, but all along you were getting better. It just took some time for you to notice it." That story with Olivia is a lot like our journey when learning anything new, whether it is a language, a skill, or a hobby. It takes time, and progress is often invisible. And why is that? Why does progress seem slower at times? Well, learning is not linear. That means it doesn't move in a straight line. where every day is better than the last. Some days feel easy, some feel difficult, and some feel completely stuck. On some days you might feel like a champion, and other days, not so much. This happens because you're building many skills at the same time. When you advance in one area, like listening, the other part, like speaking, might feel behind. But don't worry. Everything is growing at its own pace. Here's another real story about Abe Lincoln, one of the most famous presidents of the United States. When he was a young man, he started off not knowing much. He wasn't wealthy, his family wasn't well known, and he had limited formal education. But he trusted in his ability to learn every day, little by little, one book at a time. It took years, yes, years. But he didn't let the slow progress stop him. He created the habit of showing up every day, reading, and improving himself in small steps. Lincoln went on to become a lawyer despite early failures. Later, his time would come when he became president, guiding the nation through one of its hardest times. What keeps us moving on this journey? Trust in the progress, even during moments when the results are unseen. So then, what can we do when we feel stuck or discouraged? Well, like I told Olivia, the first step is to remind yourself that progress never stops. If you're showing up to practice, to study, or to prepare, that in itself is progress. You're planting the seeds, and your results are growing underground where you can't fully see them yet. Even the fact that you're thinking about improvement is a sign of your progress. It means you're already better than you think. What's important is consistency. Spending time regularly on your goal will lead you to better results, not just how fast you cram information into your head or try to rush the process. If you practice speaking English for 15 or 20 minutes a day, every day, for 6 months, guess what? You'll progress much more smoothly compared to doing one big study for 5 days and then stopping. Even when the results feel small, they matter. Another tip to trust your progress is to celebrate small wins whenever you see them. Maybe you finally said a sentence smoothly, or maybe you understood a full conversation better than before. Maybe you read your first full English book without needing to translate every word. That, my friends, is progress. Sometimes, as learners, we only want to celebrate when we achieve a big goal, like perfect fluency. But the reality is, every step of improvement deserves a small celebration. Those days when you learn just a new phrase or how to use a verb correctly, that's huge. Take a moment to feel proud of that. And remember, learning English is not a race with other people. You will improve at your pace, and someone else's fast progress doesn't mean yours is slow. Everyone has a unique journey to success. We just need to trust that we're where we need to be at this moment, and that tomorrow brings another opportunity for growth. One of my favorite sayings is, "A river cuts through a rock not because of its power, but because of its persistence." Think about it. Something as soft as water can cut through something as hard as a rock, not because the water is strong, but because it keeps flowing. It doesn't stop, even when the progress looks small. Over time, the water creates a path through the rock, just as you will create a path through your language learning. You don't need to rush through English, but you do need to keep moving forward little by little. And every bit forward is progress. So, as you continue to learn English, trust in the journey. Believe that every word you speak, every sentence you write, and every understanding you gain is progress, even if you don't realize it right now. One day soon, you will look back and say, "Wow, I've come so far." Just like Olivia, who started with small steps and reached a place of better fluency. Or like Abe Lincoln, who kept learning even though the road seemed hard at the start. Wherever you are today, Whether you're just starting or have been learning for a while, remember that you are making progress. Keep believing in your own growth, and I assure you, soon enough, you'll be really surprised at how much you've achieved. Thank you again for being with me on English Learning for Success, where each step forward is an important part of your success. Keep improving, trust your progress, and remember, everyone's journey takes time.